welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys up in Canada. We love you, Canada. But Big C, there's no one I love more than you good old boys down south and the land of the free and the home of the brave on the beautiful September the 12th. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charles, that's been kind of miserable for a lot of the people down south. The state lost 50% of its power last night, so we have a lot of our neighbors struggling to keep everything going, Charlton. People lost the use of their homes.
Yeah.
Loss of so much food and everything. Just the devastation from this hurricane, Charlton, has been far-reaching. It's touching people in so many ways that people could have never imagined. I mean, we have people that are out of harm's way.
Yeah.
They can never even imagine what people are going on. But when it affects you personally,
yeah,
and even when it doesn't affect you personally, Charlton, just being a compassionate person,
yeah,
you have to have feelings for everybody that this is touched.
Well, Big C, that's a very good point. I know just watching the news out here in California, it seemed like we had Texas hit, and then within a week we had Florida hit, but it's also rolled up to kind of the East Coast, and I've heard there's many as 15 million people that were without power in the state of Florida and surrounding areas. And I know a lot of people think, well, the hurricane maybe didn't hit as hard as they thought it was going to hit, but it still hit pretty hard. What's the recovery like now, Big C? I know we're still going through some of the after effects of it, but what's the timeline for people being able to at least start heading back to their homes if they even have them, Big C? Your thoughts?
Think about timelines heading back to home. You think about the majority of Florida is without power.
Yeah.
Heat is going to reach into the 90s in Florida this week.
Wow.
And you think about being in a state where it's humid, without air conditioning, without electricity, Charlton. The biggest problem is going to be stench and disease, Charlton, and
yeah,
it's going to be rampant around in these states that's been affected by the hurricanes. We're talking about the receding water, Charlton. But we're talking about raw sewage that was exposed, Charlton.
Yeah.
Decaying animals and some things that something like whether it was pets or wildlife, Charlton. All of these things are going to be in the lifespan of people where
yeah,
it's going to cross paths.
Yeah.
And, you think about flies and mosquitoes, Charlton, that are rampant in these southern states. It's going to be very devastating. You talk about time of recovery. You think about the flooding that just occurred, Charlton. Think about the heat that's going to bring all the mold and things in these homes that are going to make them uninhabitable.
Oh, yeah.
Charlton, some of them probably will never be able to be inhabited. It's just going to have to be demolished. But the devastation that's going to go on in these people's lives, Charlton, for years to come.
Yeah.
People just have not recovered from 12 years later. It is still having an effect on people in New Orleans, Charlton, in that greater area of down there in Louisiana.
Yeah.
So what we're going to have in Houston and in Florida, Charlton, we have some devastation that you just can't imagine that even exceeds what they had in Katrina.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when people think about Katrina, you just brought it up 12 years ago when you were looking at New Orleans, and life has gotten back to normal, but not for everybody. We know Texas and Florida are going through some of the same thing. I do want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. You can drive a car or you can drive a Cadillac.
Yeah. U.S. Virgin Islands, not the
yeah.
These places have no infrastructure, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
They don't have the things that we can go through here in the United States, the home people.
Yeah.
They don't have the boating construction companies around, Charlton. These are mainly, vacation areas.
Yeah.
Where people live on pauper means that are residents of these islands, and they rely so much on vacation and tourism to extend their livelihood.
Yeah.
Now that it's been wiped away completely, when you look at the U.S. Virgin Islands, Charlton, where they've probably been 80% devastated.
Yeah.
To just uninhabitable. And so you think about recovery, and people haven't recovered from Katrina 12 years later.
Yeah.
Some of these areas, Charlton, will never recover.
Yeah, and obviously it takes a long time to pick up the pieces. And just like what you're saying, people can't just get up and go back home, and it makes it difficult. I do want to congratulate one of the hotels in Las Vegas. There's, even on the high school level, there's a school called Central of Miami they came out to Las Vegas and played Bishop Gorman on a game that was televised, and that was on a Friday night, Big C. And because they could not get back to Miami, there's a couple of hotels down in Las Vegas that actually gave the whole football team and their families a place to stay and free food. So a lot of people are doing their part across the country. But you just think every time you can go into your home and you have the creature comfort. You have a nice sofa, a TV, and you're not dealing with all those elements. Just keep in mind a lot of people in Florida and Texas are still going through it. If you can donate any cause you can. I think J.J. Watt is up to $30 million now. $30 million that was raised by the effort of J.J. Watt. Big C, you talk about even though life goes on, it doesn't go on for the people who live in those communities. What can people still do? I know a lot of athletes are always considered role models. I think we see a lot of athletes and sports teams really stepping up, Big C, and being what we call role models for a lot of the people who are going through it. Big C, your thoughts? The Astros, yeah. Yeah.
Participated in donations. But, the toughest thing is talked about creature comforts of home. It no longer exists with thousands of people in the greater Houston area. We talked about the sofa and television. We're talking about the bed, clothing, basic necessities of life. Being able to walk into your refrigerator and open it up and get something out to eat. These things no longer will exist.
Yeah.
For many, many people, Charlton, for years to come.
Yeah.
Because, yes, there's been donations and there'll be outpourings from FEMA and the federal government as far as assistance. But where do you start?
Yeah.
Whose home do you build first and whose home do you build 100?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the process, Charlton. This is a long, lengthy process. And when it comes to red tape, we know how our government is.
Oh, yeah.
It's full of red tape.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have vultures out there, Charlton, victimizing people, contractors coming in, taking advantage of people who are desperate.
Yeah.
Who solely want to get back to the comforts of home, as you say.
Yeah.
And that's a tragedy in America within itself, Calvin, that we have people wanting to victimize our own citizens. We saw that in the airline industry where they were raising prices.
That was crazy.
$2,000 to $3,000 for an airline ticket.
Yeah.
Charlton, for passengers to get out of harm's way.
Yeah.
And now you have these situations where you have all these shortages. We talk about the storm being gone, Charlton. You got to think about it. There's no electricity. No gasoline.
No.
How are people going to get back to basic daily subsistence? Those are the major factors, Charlton, that now people have to worry about more than anything else. The rebuilding will be down the road.
Yeah.
It's getting back to some semblance of life, being able to get back to work, Charlton, to earn an income.
Yeah.
Think about how many businesses were devastated and wiped out completely. Think about the number of incomes that are gone now in America. We got a president talking about think of America first, create jobs.
Yeah.
Go down to Florida, go down to Houston, Mr. President, create some jobs if you really care about America.
Obviously, we try to build other countries. We definitely got to put some of our money and effort into the United States, Big C. So hopefully everyone can do their part in staying safe. As you mentioned, a lot of people have no place to go. So if you've been able to kind of get through it, obviously you got to keep your head up and keep going forward. And hopefully in time things do get better with time. So Big C, thanks for all the knowledge you bring about what's going on in the South, being in that part of the country. Out here in California, a lot of times we just deal with the heat, but we don't deal with the humidity and all the thunderstorms and the hurricanes that sweep through a lot of people. So hopefully people can stay safe with that. Big C, I do want to turn a little bit of our attention up north. And in the United States, we look at baseball. We look at winning streaks. We look at people that get a diversion from what's going on in reality. And sports can be a diversion. We've always said it can bring our society together. And the Cleveland Indians last year in the Big C World Series. And right now they're seeking their 19th straight win. They're playing against Detroit tonight. That game's in Cleveland. And Cleveland started out the bottom of the first. They already had a 1-0 lead going up. And we won't say what's happening with the game because we'll still be going live. But just your thoughts on that win streak. I know they're about a game from time what Oakland did back in the day. Your thoughts on Cleveland and Detroit and going at it tonight, Big C.
Well, Charlton, 19 games is outstanding. One short of the American League record with the A's set back in the 2002 season.
Yeah.
But when you think about streaks in baseball, we think about the home run streak.
Yeah.
We think about the consecutive game hitting streak. No one really pays much attention to consecutive win streaks. But the Cleveland Indians, Charlton, to pull off 19 consecutive winning games going into tonight is just a phenomenal feat.
Yeah.
When you think about their counterparts on the West Coast, the Dodgers, are losing 11 in a row, Charlton. But, the Cleveland Indians This is the team that came off of last year's World Series, just 1 run shy of winning the World Series.
Yeah.
And so this team came out under Jerry Francona and had a lot to prove. They didn't hold their heads down after losing the World Series in 7 games, Charlton.
No.
They came into this season with a mission statement.
Yeah.
And that mission statement is, let's finish up where we left off. And they have not slowed down at all. You think about a 19-game winning streak, Charlton, and during that streak, their starting staff has given up less than 2 runs a game. Their ERA is like 1.76
Yeah.
over this 19-game winning streak. So, when you're not allowing anybody to put the ball into play, it gives you a great chance to win. And that offense with the bats have been very productive for
Yeah.
the Indians, Charlton.
Yeah, and when you think about it, when you think about Cleveland, they're known for, obviously, because LeBron James came back and made it relevant for basketball again. But prior to that, you really talked about the baseball that they play in Cleveland. I remember that movie Major League. I believe that was involved. It was Charlie Sheen and some good old boys back in the day. And I believe they were involved with the Cleveland Indians in that movie. Now, just about they called him Wild Thing, the pitcher. But I think about what they're doing right now in Cleveland with the basketball team in disarray, with LeBron James being the king of basketball, especially in the NBA, but especially even more so in Ohio. And then Ohio State falling at home to Oklahoma, being blown out 31-16. You have the Cleveland Browns that are still in the mix of trying to build something there, and they have a great quarterback in Kaiser. But I look at what Cleveland's done. But do you think that Cleveland's still the prodigal team of Cleveland? Do they rally around that team the way they do around the Cavs or even around the Cleveland Browns? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, the Indians have had some consistency over the past couple of decades.
Yeah.
They have been in the World Series back in the 90s and in 2016 also.
Yeah.
So this is a team that has showed promise. They've been up and down at times, but they've been the winningest part of Cleveland lore, Charlton, over the past 2 decades.
Yeah.
It's been the one team that the fans can really hang their hat on. The Browns have been a disappointment more than a yo-yo in that city.
Yeah.
Just come lately since LeBron has been with the Cavs, they've had some productivity. But baseball is one of those games, Charlton, that's a family affair.
Yeah.
It's affordable. You can take your kids to it. And with the Indians doing what they're doing, it brings family back together.
Yeah.
Cleveland is one of those hard-hit areas, Charlton. It was one of those industrial cities in the Midwest that, was run by the steel mills and auto industry. That has gone by the wayside. So, you had a lot of diehard fans in that area.
Yeah.
And it's been great the past couple of years with the productivity of the Cavaliers going to the NBA championship, Charlton, the last 3 years consecutive.
Yeah.
You had the Indians in the World Series last year, potentially getting back this year. There's a lot for the fans of the greater Cleveland area to look forward to. Ohio State also in the NCAA playoffs.
Yeah.
So they've been there. The basketball team's been in the tournament. So there's a lot of sports, things going on in that greater Cleveland area to keep fans proud.
That's a very good point, Big C. And you already touched on it, too. When you talk about greatness, and, of course, they're chasing the Oakland A's for 20 in a row. I look down south, Southern California. The Dodgers and a proud organization still think the Dodgers are the best team in the National League, even though they're having a bad win streak of losing 11 games in a row. They're starting Clayton Kershaw tonight. They're playing against their hated rivals from up north, the San Francisco Giants. Obviously, teams go through these slumps, Big C, but unlike a lot of teams that don't have the great pitching the way the Dodgers do in Kershaw, it's good that they have this slump now as opposed to when we're in October, Big C. Your thoughts on what the Dodgers can do to get out of this slump, and is Kershaw someone that they can count on to help get that slump turned around, Big C? Your thoughts?
Charlton, when you look at baseball, everybody wants to say mechanics, but it's mental in baseball more than anything else. You look at Kershaw, they put him on the mound tonight, Charlton. In his last game, he didn't make it out of the fourth inning before he was lit up. So he was yanked. They haven't had an answer at all. So, what happens when you get that monkey on your back, Charlton? All of a sudden, it becomes a gorilla. It's hard to talk to them. So everybody starts thinking of what they're doing wrong instead of what they can do right. It's contagious. Losing is contagious, just like winning is contagious, Charlton. And when you breathe that atmosphere into a sports team, that's all they look at. Here we go again tonight. You get down by a run, all of a sudden everybody tosses their hat into the arena, Charlton, saying it's all over. I've seen that in football teams that I've played with. You knew when you could win and you knew when you could lose. You walk in and you could feel the atmosphere in in your locker room, whether there was confidence or lack of confidence.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers right now are really suffering from a lot of lack of confidence.
Obviously, they're going to have to turn that around. Just running down some of the standings in the AL East, you have the Boston Red Sox 81-62 on the season, followed by the Yankees at 78-65. The Orioles are 71-73. You think about it, in the East, you have two teams that are playing over 500. The rest are under. Tampa Bay, the Rays are 71-74, and the Toronto Blue Jays are 67-77. In the Central Big C, I want to run down the Cleveland, obviously 88-56, the hottest team in baseball right now, followed by the Twins at 74-69. You have the Royals at 72-72. Again, two teams out of that division above 500 baseball, followed by Detroit at 60-83, and the White Sox at 57-87. Are we having bad baseball, Big C, where we have two teams in each division seems to be above 500? Everybody else, Big C, they're playing under 500 baseball. Your thoughts on why? Yeah. And we're still having a little bit of trouble with Big C's microphone coming from the south. I know we still have a lot of inclement weather down south. We will work on that, so bear with us as we get through it. But again, go ahead, Big C, if you can hear me. Go right ahead, sir. Yeah. Yeah. With the amount of money that they make, you would expect their players to have a little more pride in what they go out and do on a day and nightly performance basis. Yeah. Obviously, when we look at the West, Big C, Houston Astros, 86-57. They're running away with it, it seems, but they've been caught by Cleveland when you think about how dominant Houston was earlier. And they also are looking for some competition from the Red Sox, but they're still doing well in the AL West, followed by the Angels at 73-70. The Rangers are 72-71. And you have three teams above 500 in the AL West, followed by the Seattle Mariners at 71-73. The Oakland Athletics at 63-80. And I kind of feel for Oakland because a team with such proud tradition, and you're hearing how great Cleveland is this year on the winning streak. They're chasing the A's record of 20 in a row, but the A's are having a hard time just finding good baseball players. Big C, for a proud franchise, and Oakland being in the news more for seeing if someone can catch them and tie their win streak record. The Oakland A's, obviously, it's hard to play great baseball when you average about 22,000 fans at home in a 50,000-seat stadium. Your thoughts on Oakland, and will they ever turn it around if teams from smaller markets can do it? Why are the A's having such a hard time winning with a great history, Big C? Your thoughts? Yeah.
It seems that every year they get that top two players.
Yeah.
So you're no longer going to ever be able to build an established program or foundation for players to follow in. They traded away their top pitcher this year, Charles.
Yeah.
So that also hurts the team when you think about that. Fans look at that, Charlton. When you're not willing to put the best product on the field, you're always looking to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And everybody can see it's economics, but there's revenue sharing in all professional sports, Charlton. So nobody's getting left out from an ownership perspective. Everybody's making millions of dollars.
Yeah.
But when you continuously trade the top two players on your team every year, Charlton, if you go back over the last 5 years and say the A's have gotten rid of their top 10 players, that's a championship caliber team, Charlton, that you've gotten rid of.
Yeah.
And the fans that you want me to pay a harder money and you won't put into the players that you want to put onto the field.
That's a very good point. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And when you ever have a sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century. They work with Big C Sports. They cover pro athletes, your collegiate athletes, your high school teams, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. And when you reach out to them, let them know that Big C sent you. Big C, and talking about the A's before we look over at the National League, I still think no matter what's going on with the Oakland A's now, I think about Catfish Hunter. I think about Reggie Jackson. I think about in the days when they had Dave Stewart taking the mound, Dennis Eckersley, the Bash brothers with McGuire and Canseco, and also Ricky always trying to steal bases. And I think about how many great players have played on the dirt at the Coliseum, but you just brought up a great point that so many people take for granted. if they would have traded those players, we wouldn't have seen some of those great Oakland A teams in the days. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, you go back to the 70s when you had Vida Blue, Ken Holzman, Sal Bando, Joe Rudy.
Yeah.
Those players along with Reggie Jackson, Ken North, playing for the A's. And they were 3 World Series back in the 70s.
Yeah.
They kept that organization together. You had Catfish Hunter, who was the first free agent to leave the A's.
Yep.
But this was a team that was held together. Raleigh Fingers with his handlebar mustache coming out of the bullpen, the first true reliever in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
But this was a team that was kept together, Charles, for a length of time. You think about that 5-year run that the A's had, which they were the greatest team in baseball.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you were to start disbanding that team, taking 2 of the best players each year off that team, you wouldn't have had that 5-year run with the A's. You
Yeah.
wouldn't have had those household names in the area that were consistent winners. You wouldn't have had a Pat seeing night in and night out.
Yeah.
Having great promotions done by Charlie Finley, who was the owner of the A's at that time. He kept fans involved because
Yeah.
he always had promotions from the fans. Baseball doesn't do that anymore, Dalton, where they have certain nights for the fans, whether it's even just a bobblehead night.
Yeah.
Certain teams don't make that investment in their communities. Charlie O was one of the original inventors of promotional night in professional baseball.
Yeah.
He was a trailblazer, just like Al Davis was there in the Bay Area with football in its innovation in free agency, Charles. So when you think about what happened in the Bay Area and it's slowly winding away,
Yeah.
as far as the originators and keeping certain players in-house for a lengthy time,
Yeah.
that devastation has really carried over into the fan base.
Yep, that's very true, and they've tried to do the same in San Francisco by keeping some marquee players, but we know it's all cyclical. I do want to look at a little bit of the National League. In the East, the Washington Nationals are 88-55, followed by the Marlins at 68-75. The Braves are 64-78. Now, you notice in this division, you have only one team playing above 500 baseball. That's the Nationals, led by Dusty Baker. You have the Mets at 63-80, and Philadelphia at 54-89. So these are great franchises not having the best season. Is this the year the Nationals get to the NLCS and maybe even poke their way into the World Series? Big C, your thoughts?
This every year always creeps up on the Nationals. The Nationals call it injury bug.
Yeah.
And they've had some problems with their pitching staff. Scherholz and Strasburg.
Yeah.
Mike Harper's also been on the DL.
Yeah.
So that's always been their Achilles heel. They've had a great run the past 3 years in Major League Baseball. But come September, Charles, they find a way to get players injured and end up on the DL.
Yeah.
They've done a tremendous job with this lineup, moving players in and out, keeping, the Band-Aids in place.
Yeah.
But, the injuries, you got to be healthy when it comes to October if you ever expect to win a World Series.
That makes a lot of sense. Speaking of World Series, in the Central, NL Central, the Chicago Cubs, I love that C on their hat, Big C. It looks like Big C Sports. They're 77-66, followed by the Cardinals, their rival, and they're 75-68. And then you have Milwaukee Brewers behind them in third place in the Central at 75-69. And then you have Pittsburgh, the Pirates are 68-77, followed by the Reds. Cubs, again, another Cubs dominant team. They find a way to reverse the jinx, and now they're looking at perhaps winning that division again. Do you see them having the same type of moxie and perseverance that they had last year and getting to the World Series? Big C, your thoughts?
Everybody thought that the Cubs might be able to duplicate that 108 game
Yeah.
that they had last year, Charles. But
Yeah.
that's something very difficult to get to triple digits in Major League Baseball and win because of the level field of talent that
Yeah.
you have now. And the Cubs got off to a very sluggish start. There was a point, Charlton, during the season they were under 500.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about, World Series hangover.
Yeah.
And they may have had a little bit of that. But, when you think about Joe Maddon as the GM there in Chicago, this is a guy who knows how to motivate players. He's moved players in and out of the lineup, Charlton. He has sent a couple players down to the minor leagues.
Oh, yeah.
That will motivate a lot of Major League players when you got to ride on a bus.
That boy.
He shook up his lineup.
That,
and
yep.
now they're back on that winning streak. They're at the end of the Central Division, Charlton.
Yeah.
They'll be fine once playoff time come around.
Well, they're 4-6 in their last 10, but I think you're right. Riding the bus definitely can get your motivation. Out to the West, National League West, the LA Dodgers in a losing skid. They're still 9 games up over the Diamondbacks. The Dodgers 92-52, but they're 0-10 in their last. Actually, 0-11 is their losing streak. The Diamondbacks They have been owners of the Dodgers of late. They're in second place in the West at 83 and 61, followed by Colorado. The Rockies are 79 and 65. You have three teams above 500 in the West, and the Padres at 65 and 79, followed by the Giants, which is always a team that can compete for a World Series or at least the West Championship in the NL West. But they're at the bottom right now at 57 and 89 with Bruce Bochy. Just your thoughts on the Dodgers and the Giants. Both teams have great organizations that came out from the East Coast. They've both been World Series champions over the last 30 years, Big C. The Giants have won 3 in the last 8 years. The Dodgers haven't won since 88. Just your thoughts on how the Dodgers are they're going to have to right that ship. And obviously they have the pitching that can get it done. But like you said, Kershaw got knocked out in his last game. Your thought, Big C?
We're talking that there's still enough time to right the ship. The Dodgers are not going to be caught for first place in the West. They're going to ride this out. They're going to get healthy.
Yeah.
They've had some players that were injured. They were sitting players down. That's one of the things that Johnson, the manager, was trying to do.
Yeah.
It sit some players down and rest them. I think it may have backfired on him a little bit.
Yeah.
Because the team lost its momentum, playing utility players.
Yeah.
And now, he's got to realize he's got to get his starting lineup back together, put his rotation back to where it was. If the Dodgers are going to finish this, and I still think that they will win the West. And come playoff time, Charlton, the scrappiness that they've had here late in the season,
yeah.
I think they'll steady all that once the playoffs. Diamondbacks,
yeah.
get a wild card.
Yeah.
But, the Dodgers should finish out the West.
I agree with that very much, Big C. As we close out our show today, I do want to turn our attention to the most popular sport in the NFL, and that's called betting. No, not betting. I'm sorry, Big C. I dropped my notes, Big C. That's called the NFL, and a lot of people, we know they bet on the NFL, Big C. But I want to get your thoughts. When I watch, again, the Vikings have a gorgeous stadium up in Minneapolis, and just seeing last night on Monday Night Football how the Saints went to up north, and we know Drew Brees can throw the football, but Bradford with the Vikings, they looked better, and Adrian Peterson, the fact that he ran for over 100 yards, that shows me that guys don't necessarily get bad with age, they can get better with age. But your thoughts on how the Vikings and the Saints appeared last night? I think the Saints are going to be okay, but the Vikings look pretty decent. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, the thing about Sam Bradford Johnson, he started out last year real hot.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of big passes that he threw last year. Last night, he went down the field.
Yeah.
He opened up the offense. And that's going to be very important for the Vikings. Dalvin Cook stepped up, the rookie running back.
Oh, he looked good.
Adrian Peterson.
He looked good.
Opening game rookie rushing record with over 120 yards
Yeah.
last night. Charlton running the football.
Yeah.
He is what the Vikings needed in their backfield, a solidifying running back. This team will be okay. You look at the Saints, Dalton. This was a team that was expecting much more from the defense.
Yeah.
That didn't show up last night. Drew Brees gets his usual around 300 yards every time he shows. But his problem with the Saints right now, Joe, is he's rotating running that they have.
Yeah.
They got to set up their mind which running back they're going to play. Either they're going to play Peterson or they're going to play Ingram.
Yeah.
But you can't rotate running backs. We've seen stuff like this in football before where you were rotating starting players. It just doesn't work. The Dallas Cowboys did it back in the 70s, rotating quarterbacks with Craig Morton and Roger Staubach.
Yep.
That fell apart in Dallas under Tom Landry. You have to set a star out there. Running back has to carry the ball consistently.
Yeah.
He has to have his timing down with his offensive line. And in New Orleans, it's going to be limited touches because Drew Brees is going to be throwing the ball. But Minnesota should be fine in that division. They will challenge the Packers, Charlton.
Yeah.
For the central title or North title, whatever it is now. It's at the realignment.
Yep.
It's good with Bradford in his second year in this offense.
Obviously, very impressive stadium. Again, I want to tip my hat to the people in the great state of Minnesota. Beautiful place to go watch a football game. A lot like Atlanta, they leave part of the stadium open so you can see downtown. They didn't move it out to the suburbs so people couldn't see the downtown, entertainment that people love when they go into a city. I want to get your thoughts on the late game up at Mile High. Well, it's not Mile High Stadium, but it is Mile High. We know what that means when you go up to Denver. There's a lot of smoke in the air in Denver these days, Big C. But that game was kind of boring until the last quarter when San Diego found a spark. I think Monday Night Football is great. Kind of having two games on a Monday night is kind of difficult, but I know they're going to do it to get more people watching. Just want to get your thoughts. When I saw two African American head coaches on the sideline for NFL teams, obviously in the West and the AFC West, that shows me the Rooney Rule can be I mean, it's something that's working, Big C, whether we think it's great or not. But I want to get your thoughts on the game last night. San Diego going into Denver and almost pulling out with a victory, or at least a tie going to overtime. Big C, your thoughts on that game? And we're just still having a little bit of trouble with your microphone, Big C. We're gonna work on that just a little bit. And I just want to get again, and so bear with us as we're getting through this weather that we're having down south. But again, Big C, as we get your thoughts on San Diego going into Denver and almost coming out of there with a win. And again, we're still having some issues with Big C microphone, but obviously watching that game shows me two things. Number one, the game's never over until it's over. And you have two coaches that have a lot of opportunity there, running great organizations. Denver coming off of a Super Bowl championship teams over the last couple of seasons with Peyton Manning. We know they have their quarterback struggles. San Diego with Phillip Rivers. There's something about Phillip Rivers that I've always liked. The guy's competitive. He can throw the ball downfield with the best of them. San Diego's, I feel for them because they're playing at the StubHub Center in Southern California. That's not a place for an NFL football team. But for a team to go from playing in Denver in front of about 80,000 to go back to L.A. or Carson and play in front of about 30,000, I don't think that's a good look for the NFL. But Big C, just your thoughts if you have your microphone back up on that game last night. Go right ahead, sir.
These two quarterbacks battle it out. Trevor Siemian had to go through the preseason and battle to become Denver's number one quarterback once again. And he proved just like he did in the opening game last year against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
That he's an NFL quality quarterback, something that he can go out and get the job done. San Diego just doesn't have enough tools around for Phillip Rivers on offense.
No.
They're there, but they're not there consistently. They have two great defensive ends on defense that can put pressure on opposing passes, something. But when you're consistently having to put pressure on opposing passes, you got to put some points on your team offensively. Their wide receivers haven't stepped up. They should step over the next couple of weeks for the Chargers.
Yeah.
But as you say, you're going to be leaving 80,000 people at Invesco Field in Denver going to play in a junior college stadium down in Carson, California, talking 22,000 seats. That's not NFL. You get more people than that during training camp.
Yeah.
It should be an embarrassment to the NFL. I don't know what kind of sight lines you're going to have camera-wise for the NFL production group.
Yeah.
But as a team, how do you get motivated to leave an NFL facility and go play in a junior college facility? And how will that affect San Diego over the course of the season? I know you animated on the two African-American rookie coaches last night, which is a great sight to see for the NFL.
Yeah.
To show that diversity works.
Yeah.
And not only that, Charlton, you had two coaches that went down to the wire that were able to put at least 3 touchdowns on the board apiece with their teams. Look around the team, around the league, Charlton, at the veteran white coaches in the NFL that could not put up 21 points over the weekend.
Yeah, and I think you're right about that, Big C. I'm just proud of sports, and then sports is about competition. It's about putting everything you have on the line. It's about seeing if you can beat the next man. It's about working together as a team. I think our country can learn so much about that, and I think sports will bring our country together. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He used to always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
I'm looking forward to the injury report coming out in the NFL. You think about it. The NFL is the only professional league with an injury report, okay?
Yeah.
And why is that? For the thing that you mentioned earlier, so that Vegas can get the line right.
I tell you, sometimes you learn things when you read between the lines, Big C, as you can always read between the lines every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them little boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never, ever any reason to ever put your hand on a woman. No one should ever have to go through domestic violence. If you know any woman going through that garbage, just call 911. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports program, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.